Is case CE 17-000778. The respondent is MAS 15 LLC trustee. The property is 1125 Shangri Lane, Oviedo 32765, parcel number 04-21-300-027A-000. The allegations are a violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, Section 301.3, as adopted by the City of Oviedo Code of Ordinances, and also violation of Section 22-144, the public nuisance provision of Oviedo Ordinances. And the allegation is that the owner allowed a vacant house to cause a blighting problem and adversely affect the public health and safety. Mr. Oyles, you're going to be speaking on behalf of the city?
Yes, sir. There'll also be a police officer going to give testimony after mine, sir.
I'm sorry, sir?
There's also a police officer who will give testimony after my
All right,
testimony.
who else is going to be speaking to this issue today? Anyone here on behalf of the respondent? All right. Officer, what is your name?
It's Sergeant Carl Rager, R-A-G-E-R.
C-A-R-L, Carl?
Yes.
And last name again?
R-A-G-E-R, Rager.
All right, would you both raise your right hand? Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right. Who's going to speak first? Mr. Oriels, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Jim Oriels, representing the city, Your Honor, case number 17-000778, 1125 Shangri-La Lane, for violations of 301.3, vacant structures and land, 22.144, public nuisance. Your Honor, this case actually started from we got a police complaint back on April 12th. We were contacted by the property owner, and she said she was working with Development Services, and they were going to put in a small subdivision or something, but we've heard nothing since then. I have 22 pages of evidence to give, if I may approach.
Right. Yes, please. All right. Not hearing any objections, I'm going to introduce that into evidence as the city's exhibit. Go ahead, Mr. Oriels.
The first document, Your Honor, is the property appraiser's page. It shows the property is in fact owned by MAS 15 LLC, trustee FBO. The next 2 pages are a copy of the prevailing ordinances that we allege they are in violation of. On May 30th, we did another inspection on the property. You can see the 2 pictures here. The house is definitely abandoned, has been gutted. There has been graffiti added to the house practically each time we go out there. Windows are broken, doors are broken down. There has been an attempt some time back, it looks like, to board the house. However, I would think Sergeant Rayer will probably attest to the fact that probably 75% of the house is wide open, including a second story.
You say I also had broken doors?
I'm sorry, sir?
Broken doors?
Yes, sir. Doors are gone.
Are the doors in such a state that children or
Anybody can get in.
transients could enter?
Yeah, absolutely. Both floors of the house, they're accessible.
All right. What notices were provided to the owner?
On May the 31st, the notice of violation that called for a correction to be done by June the 30th. That we mailed that, the third piece of paper. Then the letter was returned unclaimed. We did another inspection on the property on the 28th. And as you can see, the 2 pictures from the 28th, the house is in exactly the same condition, maybe worse. This gives the one shot on the 28th gives you an indication the front door is not there.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the notices.
Sure.
Other than the notice of violation, What are the notices? Well, I see a second notice of
We sent-
violation.
we
How
sent-
was that sent?
We sent that as, once, we sent it certified, we posted the property, we posted City Hall,
Okay.
and you'll find an affidavit of service attesting to
So
that.
there were two postings.
Yes.
Did the second certified mail come back unclaimed?
We never got anything back.
Never got anything
No,
back?
sir. No, sir.
Huh, that's odd.
No, it's really not. We get a lot of them that don't come back.
All right, I'm going to find it's a threshold matter that the respondent has been duly noticed as required by Florida statute and by City of Oviedo ordinance. So go ahead, Mr. Oriole.
On the next picture, sir, is July the 10th. We went back out and did a reinspection. As Your Honor can see, there was no progress made at all. We sent an affidavit of violation, request for hearing. We sent a notice of hearing. We did not get anything back. However, we did also, knowing we wouldn't get anything back, we posted City Hall, we posted the property, and you'll find an affidavit of service stating so.
Okay.
And this morning, I went out a little after 7 this morning, and you can see that the house is in exactly the same, if not worse, condition.
Yeah. The latest photographs were July 10, looks like.
I have one from 7/27.
Oh, yeah, some today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
That's all I have, Your Honor, but I know Sergeant Rager would like to address the situation as well.
What's that?
That's all I have to present, but Sergeant Rager would like to present.
All right. Sergeant Rager?
Yes, sir. This home has been a ongoing issue with law enforcement. We received several complaints from local neighbors talking about juveniles going down there and hanging out and doing various criminal activity while there. You can see from the photos that graffiti is going on. On July 22nd, one of my officers doing a check of the residence observed the graffiti and took some photographs. It's probably the same thing you already have, what we have. We initiated a gang intelligence report. The graffiti, from our research, is not necessarily gang-related. However, any graffiti that we get, that's what we listed under. The condition of the home, I actually walked through the residence as well. The officer originally went out there. She was too afraid to actually enter the home because she thought it was going to collapse on her. The back porch area is completely down. We can't even walk in there. The roof has collapsed in that. There is no doors on the house whatsoever. I actually had to step on the door to walk into the front door. Upstairs, what I guess would be the master bedroom area, looks like there used to be sliding glass doors that walked out onto a balcony that was probably on top of the roof that collapsed in. Those doors are gone, and it's just a one-story drop down to the bottom. The drywall has all been busted out. All the ceiling fans have been busted out. Mirrors busted. It's just total glass. You're walking and just crunching the whole time. So it is a safety hazard. These kids are damaging it. They think it's fun to break things up, and eventually they're going to break out the wrong stud, and the house is going to collapse on them. So it is a major safety issue, as well as, there's beer bottles in there and other signs of narcotic use and stuff like that.
Any power to the house, do we know, or water, or any utilities?
I don't believe so. I didn't check. I was afraid to try. Do you know?
Has there been any contact at all with the
No,
owners?
sir, not after the initial contact. For the record, there is no power or water in the structure.
Okay.
No, sir. The first time we got a phone call from a realtor who said she owned the property and was going to get with Development Services. I know she called Development Services, and just to find out initially what she could do to put in a small subdivision. I'm not sure if Your Honor is familiar with where it is. It's off Artesia.
No, where is it? That was going to be my next question.
It's off Artesia, Shangri-La Lane. They have built a new subdivision.
It's Shangri Lane, isn't it?
Shangri-La.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well,
They've built a new subdivision to the left, but this house is in the woods. I honestly never knew until Sergeant Rager complained. I never knew the house was there. It's just it's tucked
off
back
of
in the woods.
Artesian.
It's off Shangri-La, but which is off Artesia.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked about the name is this says Shangri. I want to make sure I've got the correct
It's
spelling.
Shangri-La.
Shangri-La.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else, officer?
The only other thing I want to add is I knew code enforcement had already initiated a case on it because their notice was on the ground, and that's how I knew. So their notice was out there, but obviously no one had picked it up.
What would it take to secure this building?
Lots and lots of plywood because there's no windows left, there's no doors left, and quite frankly, if you board it up, the kids are only going to go out there and rip it off again. But I mean, we have to make some kind of effort or the owner needs to make some kind of effort to secure it up to at least.
How close are the adjacent properties and buildings?
The new subdivision has been built basically right across the street. However, it is in a wooded area, so from the roadway you can't see the house. You actually have to drive down through the path that's there in order to be able to see the house.
In your opinion, does it pose a fire hazard?
It poses a fire hazard because I don't know if I didn't see any signs of the kids lighting fires in there, but eventually that will happen. Or if there's using cigarettes or marijuana joints or whatever, that could happen. That it could be a fire hazard. My main concern is that these kids think, obviously they're breaking things apart. They think it's fun and kicking things and breaking boards and all that good stuff. And eventually they're going to kick out the wrong wall, and the support's going to be gone, and they're going to fall, or they're going to be upstairs and fall out the sliding glass door. It is a two-story with sort of like a balcony that has no railing left because they broke that out, and that type of stuff.
Okay.
Really, what needs to be done at this point is it needs to be bulldozed. Is what it needs to happen.
Okay. Thank you, Sergeant. Anything else from the city? All right. I'm going to find that this property is in violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, Section 301.3, as adopted by the City of Oviedo. It also constitutes a public nuisance, as defined by Section 22-144 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oviedo. It's obviously dilapidated, it's unsanitary, it's unsafe condition. More concerning to me is that it constitutes an attractive nuisance for juveniles. I can see a young child going to the top story of this and falling. I'm assuming this has no swimming pool. Okay, thank goodness for that. So I'm going to find that it does constitute a public nuisance. Is it overgrown? Is the lot overgrown? Or
The lot is not overgrown as such. There's vegetation surrounding the area. It looks like at one time this has been there for a long time. I just don't know how long it's been there. But right next to and up to the house, it's not overgrown. There's different sections of the property that are overgrown. There's debris as you enter the property. There's debris, an old gate, and a bunch of stuff there. But the property itself, I would not consider it really overgrown.
All right. I'm going to, let's see, today's the 27th. I'm going to set a compliance date of August 15th, 2017, if the respondent has not brought this property in compliance by midnight of August 15, 2017, then fines will begin to accrue at the rate of $150 a day. And candidly, I'm being very generous on the time that we're providing them for compliance. Certainly, we hope that no child gets injured out there in the meantime, I'm very tempted to provide a shorter time, but I think we need to get the order in the respondents' hands and begin to impress them with the gravity of the situation. So that will be my decision, and I'll enter an order accordingly. Right, the next case, Case B, case number CE 16-002340. Respondent is George K. Weinbull. The property in question is 462 Timberwood Trail, Oviedo, Florida 32765. Parcel number is 09-21-31-507-0000-0240. The allegation is that the swimming pool is being allowed to be in an unsanitary condition, that the fence is in disrepair, high growth and a nuisance. The claim violations are sections 22-173 relating to overgrown nuisance lots, and section 22-144 public nuisances. Both those are ordinances of the city of Oviedo. Also alleged to be in violation of section 303.1, which relates to swimming pools and is a provision of the International Property Maintenance Code as adopted by the city of Oviedo. Also alleged to be a violation of section 4.15 of the Land Development Code, which deals with accessory structures, walls, fences, design, and maintenance. Who's going to be speaking to this item?
I will, Your Honor.
Anyone else going to be speaking to this item?
The respondent is here, Your Honor.
Okay, where is there? Are you going to be speaking today, sir? Sure. Okay, well then step forward, please, if you would. All right. Stand up here, if you would. What is your name, sir?
George Weinbaum.
And Jim Orioles?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you both raise your right hands? You solemnly affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right. We'll hear from Mr. Orioles first.
Good morning again, Your Honor. Case 16-002340, 462 Timberwood Trail. I have 21 pages of evidence, Your Honor. I would like to approach the bench, please.
Yes, go ahead. Does Mr. Weinbull have a copy of this? All right.
This case, if Your Honor
All right, let me
remembers...
take a quick look at this.
Sure.
How many pages, Mr. Orioles?
21 pages.
All right. Going to accept that into evidence as the city's exhibit number 1. Go ahead, Mr. Orioles.
Your Honor, if you remember, this case actually started back in December, and this was the case where the house was owned at that time by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. Mr. Weinbull did not own the house at the time.
This is the one that went back and forth between the bank and
Exactly.
the owner. Okay.
Exactly. And the lawyer came from Tampa and requested an extension, and Your Honor gave him an extension. The house now, as of this morning, I know is owned by Mr. Weinbull. So what we have done, when Your Honor had discussed, have we found a way to solve this problem, Ms. Berganio's good work, she notified J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, Albertelli Law Firm, Joshua Knight, and Mr. Weinbull, so that everyone was served. That way, this morning when we got here, if somebody owned it, they were going to be served. So we did get service on Mr. Weinbull, and he's here as a cooperative respondent. The first page, Your Honor, you'll find that is the property appraiser sheet that shows Mr. Weinbull, in fact, owns property. The next 2 sheets, or 3 sheets, are the applicable codes we allege are in violation. The next sheet, Your Honor, is your finding of fact, conclusion of law and order on February 23rd, 2017, which you extended for Joshua Knight, who was representing the Albertelli law firm at the time. Then we came to a quagmire because we couldn't figure out who owned the house, who owned the property. And the property appraiser said one thing, the clerk of the court said something else, and we worked diligently, Ms. Pagania worked diligently, and Mr. O'Rourke and myself worked diligently and tried to find out. So we finally found out that, in fact, the clerk of the court and the property appraiser got together and decided that Mr. Weinberg was the property owner. So effectively, we started on June 15th. That's the picture you see, with the pool being black. You can see the fence in the background is in some disrepair, and the high growth. We sent a notice of violation with a correction date of 7/5. We sent it certified. We posted the property. We posted City Hall, and there is a affidavit of service attesting to that. So the notice of violation was served. On 7/6, we went back out and we noticed the same condition could be observed in the swimming pool and the fence. Some of the high grass had been taken care of, however. So Mr. Weibel had made an attempt to do something to the grass. We filled out an affidavit of violation, request for hearing. Again, we mailed it and also posted the property, posted City Hall, and did all the postings necessary by 162, and there's an affidavit of service attesting to that. Now, since all of this took place, the pool, as you can see, the picture, it's not a good picture. It's hard to take pictures of that because of the fence around it, but the pool is now dry. It's dry. I mean, not even last night's rain is in it. It's perfectly dry. Mr. Weinberg has cleaned up some of the debris, and he has. I don't know if he or the neighbor, as you can see, some of the fence has been shored up. I'm not really sure about that. There's still some high growth that remains in the front yard, but Mr. Weinberg is apparently attempting to take care of the violations, as the main violation in our estimation was the swimming pool, and it is completely dry. There's not a drop of water in it.
Well, is it the city's position that it is now in compliance, or is it still non-compliant?
It's still non-compliant for the fence and for some of the high growth. But as far as the swimming pool is concerned, I believe it is in compliance because it no longer pose a hazard to, other than falling into the pool, it does not pose a drowning hazard.
Does the fence adequately secure it now so that
yes, it does.
the child's not going to
yes,
wander
it does.
in
It's
and
more
fall into that concrete pit?
Now, it's more aesthetic than there's anything else, sir. The pool, the fence itself is secure. It's just not as an original upright condition as the ordinance calls for.
So essentially right now it's the city's position that the fence is secure but dilapidated and there's still high growth.
Yes, sir.
All right, anything else, Mr. Oyles?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Weinberg, we'll hear from you.
Everything that Jim reported on sounds pretty accurate. Obviously, you were out there recently to observe I drained the pool. I had a pump issue. My pump stopped working on my pool, so I let it go and just tried to treat it with chemicals. Then the rain, we got into our spring, summer rains. I just couldn't keep up with it. So it sat, and I created a pond instead of a pool. So I had a natural pond in my backyard without the chemicals. And so there are a lot of leaves still, so I went ahead and drained it, got it dry. The fence, I did sure it up. Actually, I went over to my neighbor's side, Dave's side, and drove some screws in it to sure up at least what was standing there. So eliminated hazards, I suppose. Yes, it's an older fence, privacy fence. I have secured some replacement slats and whatnot that I'm going to go back over that where I've shored it up, and actually I have to drop some concrete and sink a post, actually a couple posts, a couple 4x4s. And so I'm moving forward. And the grass cutting, well, of course we all know with the rains, extraordinary growth. My mower stopped working, so I've been, whether I hire the kids from around the block when I can, or borrow a mower, so I'm trying to keep up on that anyway. You know, stay within the, was it 12 inches or 18? 12. I would just like a little more time to, A, secure the fence, and, well, that's the big thing. I will maintain within the height restriction, and I will shore up my privacy fence. It is not going to look like new, because it's not. I mean, it's a the cheap, whatever it is, cypress, or it's not even cypress. You know the kind of privacy fence I'm talking about. When they get old, they gray, and my next door neighbor doesn't like my fence because his is all painted red. But I'm going to talk to Dave and offer to him, if he wants to paint the fence that is showing to his side to match his red, then he can do so.
Yeah.
So,
Is anyone living in the house now?
I am.
You're living there
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
But you have a lawnmower, so you can mow the yard?
No, I don't. I don't have one that works now. Like last night, I borrowed my neighbor's. Actually, I cut in the dark with a headlight last night. It's
Yeah.
the best time to cut grass.
In fairness to Mr. Weinberg, he has cut the yard several times. It has been an issue a couple times, but he has cut it each and every time.
Okay. Mr. Orioles, I hear the city saying that it's still non-compliant. What's going to be necessary to bring it into compliance? I'm looking at the photos. I realize that the fence is not very attractive.
Right.
It is secure.
There's missing slats. There's some slats on the front that butts up the neighbor's fence and to his house. There's some missing slats in different parts. He has to replace probably 8 or 9 slats, and then what he described as putting a couple more posts in that's leaning that one section up.
Yeah, because it's leaning a little bit too, and when that post was originally set was a set cost.
Sure.
So,
And the slats are 97 cents a piece at Home Depot, so I don't think he would need $10 worth of slats to replace the ones that have fallen down or are broken in half. It wouldn't take a lot of expense.
So removing the slats and correcting the leaning would
Yes,
bring
sir.
it into compliance?
Yes, sir.
And just simply keeping it mowed takes care of the high growth?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Orioles. Anything else, Mr. Weinberg?
that's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right. I'm going to find that this property is presently in compliance with the exception of the dilapidated fence. I'm going to require by August 15, midnight of August 15, 2017, that the missing slats be replaced in the fence and that any leaning sections be straightened up and shored up, and going to require that the owner keep the property mowed so as to keep it in compliance with Section 22-173, the overgrown lots. Should it not be corrected by August 15 midnight, then I would impose a fine of $50 per day after that. Right? I will issue an order to that effect. And I do, in case I forgot to do it, I do find that all notices and postings complied with statute, and that's obvious because Mr. Weinbull is here. And I hope you get a grip on it, Mr. Weinbull.
Yeah, just so you know, I was unable because of the hours that I'm working on the road to pick up the certified at the post office, but I did signed off on it, put it back in the mailbox, and go out to my neighbor across the bridge to receive it. And but apparently that cycle didn't happen either. But so at that point I assumed that whatever you stuck with that's the case. Anyway, I'll go closer.
Okay, thank you. Right, we're going to go into the next case. This is case CE 17-001394. Respondents are Scott D. Dickinson and Alexis R. Dickinson. The address is 1679 Canoe Creek Road, Oviedo, Florida 32766. Parcel ID is 19-21-502-504-0000-6640. Allegation is a violation of Section 4.11 of the Land Development Code. The claim is that parking a jet ski between the front line of the building and the street. Who's going to be addressing this today? All right, Mr. Stevens. Anyone else here today to speak to this? Yes, ma'am. Would you step forward? All right, Mr. Stevens, would you state your name, sir?
David Stevens, City of Oviedo Code Enforcement.
All right, and ma'am?
Alexis Dickinson.
And that's Alexis Dickinson. All right, would you both raise your right hand? You solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, Mr. Stevens, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dave Stevens, City of Oviedo Code Enforcement. Again, the case is CE 17-001394. Property address is 1679 Canoe Creek Road, Oviedo, Florida. Land Development Code 4.11B, which basically prohibits parking a boat trailer between the front building line of the house and the street. I have a packet of 21 pages to present to you, Your Honor, and I approach the
May I
bench.
see that, please? And you've given a copy of this to Ms. Dickinson? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. I'm going to, you've given me actually two packets, two case numbers, so I'm going to, on the one for CE 17-000615, going to receive that in evidence as City's Exhibit 1. I'm going to receive the one labeled CE 17-001394 as Exhibit 2. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
All right. The first document, Your Honor, is the property appraiser sheet as of March 17, 2017, showing Scott and Alexis Dickinson of 1679 Canoe Creek Road. The next document is a copy of the Land Development Code 4.11. Next one is the picture taken March 17, 2017, showing the boat in the driveway. Next is a notice of violation sent March 20th. And to note, the FS 16206, if the violation reoccurs, the case may be presented to the special magistrate even if the violation has been corrected prior to the hearing. Next document is a certified mail receipt. Last is a copy of the signed green card. And at this point, March 27th, the property was re-inspected and the boat was removed.
Okay. All right. This did not come before me for hearing at that time, did it?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay, next, again, Dave Stevens, City of Oviedo, Code Enforcement, case CE 17-001394. This is 1679 Canoe Creek Road, Oviedo, Florida, and the Land Development Code 411B. Okay, that is the second document. Next document shows June 19th, 2017, boat in the driveway. June 20th, 2017. Next two documents, affidavit of violation and notice of hearing, sent June 20th. Next document is the certified mail receipt. There was no returned green card. The next document, June 21st, showing the boat. Next is June 22nd, followed by June 23rd. Next two documents, affidavit of violation, notice of hearing, sent July 6th. A certified mail receipt, and the signed green card.
This is actually a boat, isn't it?
It's a boat, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
And property was inspected on June 26, 2017. The boat was removed. The last document is my affidavit of compliance. So we have a total of 5 days of non-compliance.
So this is the city's position that this is a repeat violation. In other words, noticed in March, it was moved, and then it's back.
It's back again.
It's the same boat?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to find that all notices required by statute and ordinance have been provided, and indeed, I see Ms. Dickinson is here. All right, Ms. Dickinson, we'll hear from you. Yes, ma'am.
The boat was there, obviously. I was in the hospital the first 3 months of the year. I didn't know the March thing even happened, so my apologies for that. The boat belongs to my son. He keeps it in storage. Usually about twice a year, it comes to our house for 3, 4, 5 days where he works on it, and then it goes away again. Why this is such a huge issue, I'm not sure I understand. It's in the law, but I just think it's a total waste of time. I mean, it's in my driveway a total of 10 days a year. I don't get it, but it is what it is. I mean, you don't write the laws, you enforce them. I understand that. I just think it's silly because I have a neighbor that likes to call. That's all it is.
Mr. Stevens, how did this come to the city's attention? Was this a complaint from somebody?
This is during regular inspection, Your Honor.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm on a road that doesn't go anywhere. It's a big loop. My road is. It's not like if you don't live there, you don't drive down there. I mean, I'm not out in the middle of, and like I said, it's 10 days a year, probably at most, that it's at my house. I'm not, I'm in a middle income neighborhood. It's not living in Lake Nona.
Well, it was here at least 5 days in June. Mm-hmm. 5 consecutive days.
Yep, and like I said,
What is
happens
it that
probably
you have
twice
to
a
do
year.
there on the boat that it has to stay there for multiple days?
Well, he brings it home and he works on it, and he has a full-time job. He doesn't have all day one day to do it, so he usually brings it home and works on it, does whatever he needs to do. I don't know anything about boats, so I don't know exactly what he does, but either before he takes out skiing or puts it back in storage, he does some work on it. It's in my driveway. It's not, it's a nice boat. It's not a wreck of a boat. So.
Well, I'm a little sympathetic as a former boat owner who kept a boat legally, though, and worked on it, when it was home and cleaned it. But, when it starts stretching into 4 or 5 or more days, and these are only the days they inspect it, we don't know whether it was there for a longer period or not.
It wasn't.
Well, I have no choice but to find that there was a violation, and indeed it's a repeat violation. And as sympathetic as I am to the need to sometimes bring it home to rinse it off or wash it off, or maybe I've seen that in my own neighborhood. But usually those people have that boat gone in a day or two at most. It's the fact that it's been there for at least, we know, 5 days. Makes it hard for me to be very lenient. I'm going to impose a fine of $150. Maximum fine would be $500 for each violation. I'm going to impose a fine of $150, and all I can suggest is that, your husband find some way of repairing it other than there in the yard for protracted periods of time. Because if someone sees it or complains it or there's inspection, I'm sure that you will be written up, and technically you're in violation. I will send out an order. That fine should be paid within 30 days. The place for paying the fine is next door in the administrative building. That will be in the order. All I can suggest is it's going to have to be there for much shorter periods of time, and you just got to understand that if it just so happens the day it's there, it's being inspected, you run the risk of being in violation. Okay, that will be my ruling.
Your Honor, if I may, we have 2 respondents and 3 cases left. Could we alter the agenda to accommodate the 2 respondents that are
Be
here?
happy to.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So which is the next one that you would like to take up?
Your Honor, if we go in order, we would skip the Massey case for Alafaya Super Car Wash and go to the case B for High Street, and then move on to code enforcement compliance cases, case A, and do Alafaya Car Wash last. They're not here.
So you want to do the car wash last?
Yes.
So we would go to B next?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm happy to do that. These are under the Massey cases. Well, let me back up. Hang on. So we're doing the Royce Gankos case first?
Yes, sir.
All right. Who's going to be presenting on behalf of the city?
I will, Your Honor. Jim Oriels representing the city.
Who's here on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Gankos? Okay. Step.
I'm Catherine.
And Catherine Gankos. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right. Will you both raise your right hand? Would you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Mr. Oriels, go ahead.
Sir, this is a Massey hearing, Your Honor. On June 22nd, you heard this case and issued your order. I have 12 pages of evidence for Your Honor, if I may approach the bench.
Yes, please. All right? And Ms. Gankos, you have a copy of this? Right, I'm going to accept that in evidence. It's the city's exhibit. In evidence? Go ahead, Mr. Oils.
The basic condition, the one that we were most worried about, Your Honor, in this situation was the swimming pool and the swimming pool enclosure. You'll notice in your order that it said that should be done. Said condition continued through June 22nd, date of hearing. The constituted violation of 303.1, 303.2 with the International Maintenance Code. And it also constitutes a sanitary nuisance as defined by the city's Code of Ordinances in Section 22-144. The respondent shall bring their pool, screen enclosure, surrounding area, and yard into compliance with Section 22-144, Section 303.1, and Section 303.2 no later than midnight of July 9th, 2017. Should respondents fail to do so, then commencing July 10th, respondents shall be subject to a fine of $200 for each day. The violation shall continue thereafter. The next document I have for Your Honor is an affidavit of noncompliance that on July 10th. The property had not been brought into compliance, and I have two pictures that show you can see that there was water in the pool. I'm not sure how much water was in the pool. As I testified the last time, I'm really not sure how much water was in the pool because I couldn't see that much water, but you can see that the door is gone, or the screen from the door is gone, and the pool is readily accessible. You can see it through the weeds. We sent the respondent a notice of right to hearing. Mr. Gankos called me at some point during the case. I'm not sure. I believe it was after this notice of hearing was sent, and expressed to me that the house was in foreclosure, and he expected that by the time of the hearing he would not be the legal owner, and asked me if he should do anything. And I told him that was completely up to him. He asked me if he needed to appear, and I told him again that was completely up to him. I noticed that Ms. Gankos is here today. This morning, the last time I went out there, I had to dry my socks on Mr. O'Rourke's fan after trudging through the tall grass to get there. This morning, I took the pictures. The pool is now empty. The pool has been emptied. There's a retention pond behind the home, and the pool was emptied through the grass into the retention pond, which is perfectly legal. And there's 5 pictures that Your Honor can see. The screen, while not a perfect job by any stretch of the imagination, is still there. The only part that's wrinkled and not really tight is all the way up top. Nobody could reach that. There is, however, some debris and high growth still behind the pool enclosure, and that would be the only concern that the city would have with the property at this time.
So right now, it appears that the pool is empty.
His pool is empty, yes. I could not see any water in the pool, and Ms. Gankos told me this morning that the pool was empty.
Is the screen enclosure now secure to prevent children or someone from wandering through it?
Well, I believe it's as secure as plastic screening will be. In my estimation, plastic screening is not secure anyhow, but they did put the screen back up on the door, and while not pretty, it's probably effective and would probably keep somebody out.
What about the fence? Is that?
The fence is leaning down, but it's still there.
Is it in?
I couldn't get over it, so I don't think a child could either.
I'm sorry?
I could not get over the fence.
Okay.
So I doubt seriously a child could either.
So the fence is secure but leaning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't see any allegation here of overgrowth, so I guess that's something that's not before us today.
Yes, sir.
But it does appear to be pretty overgrown.
Yeah, there has been lot mows done on the property. Lot mow letters, there's one outstanding, and the property will be mowed when that time is up if Mr. Gankos doesn't take care of it.
Now, the photo on July 10,
Yes, sir.
at least on that date, the screen was still not repaired, was it?
Correct.
And we don't know how much water, if any, was in the pool.
No, sir. I do not. I know that From the picture, it looks like the water, if there was any water in the pool, you can see the reflection at the top of the tile. If you look at the top of the tile, and then look below it, you can see the reflection of the top of the tile. So I believe the water was in the pool at that time.
You say you believe there was or was not?
There was.
Okay.
If you'll just notice the top of the tile here,
Yeah.
and then scan down.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
You can see the reflection of the.
Okay. Do we know when the pool was drained and
No.
the screen replaced?
No, sir, we do not.
All right.
It's between July 10th and this morning.
All right, I'm going to find as a threshold matter that all notices required by statute and ordinance have been provided. Ms. Gankos, we'll hear from you.
Hi, good morning. I did not get the notification. I do not live in the home. I live elsewhere where I did get the final notice of this hearing today. My strange husband lied to me and told me he was taking care of these items, so of course that's why I didn't take care of them promptly.
Who was supposed to be taking care of it?
My estranged husband, Royce Gankos. I have not been with him for years, but with that said, I trusted that he would take care of these issues, and once I got the notice, I immediately called the city and talked to Jeanette, because Mr. Oils was on vacation, and explained to her that I did have the pool pumped and the doors, all four doors, I believe, restrained with the screening and the baby fences up as well, so there's no way that a child could get in that area. So I took that upon myself to make sure that
Okay.
got resolved.
And your estranged husband is not inclined to do anything?
Apparently not even wanting to come and discuss this here. So, and I guess he does not get served because you cannot find him. Is that the case?
We have posted the property. The statute allows that the property be posted, City Hall be posted, and sent first class. Now, he did receive something because he did call me, but it didn't indicate that he was going to do anything about it.
Property still owned by the two of you?
It's actually owned by him. I'm not on the deed. But I took it upon myself to take care of these items, obviously, for reasons of,
So you're no longer on the title?
no, sir.
When did that cease?
When he refinanced the home on several occasions. And the home is in foreclosure, and I believe the bank should be taking that
And
over.
when again did you cease to be an owner?
I'm sorry?
When did you cease to be an owner again?
As my attorney was looking at the paperwork from the foreclosure, I had not been on the deed for several years.
Why is it that she still shows as an owner, Mr. Orioles, on that property?
Your Honor, I wish I could answer that. As you know, the property appraiser works in mysterious ways. We've had numerous situations where the property appraiser is not lined up with the clerk of the court, and this could be another situation like that.
Was there an attempt to serve Mr. Gankos? Or was it?
Yes, sir. We got service on Mr. Gankos because he called and made mention to the fact that it was going to be foreclosed. He believed that the house would be under bank ownership by the time this hearing was given. The last hearing was given, and it's still in both. The property appraiser lists in both their names.
Okay. When was it that you pumped the pool dry and put up the screen?
This has been done in the last 2 weeks.
Can you give me a date?
Let's see, the pool was completed, they had to do it twice, and go back and make sure it was done and finish it up. And that was completed last Monday, I believe, and the screen was put in at that time too, and the yard was mowed.
Okay, last Monday.
Because there was,
a
I believe, a notice for mowing as well, that Mr. Orles didn't mention, that we did do the mowing of the yard.
Last Monday, that would be the 17th.
That was when it was completed. Now, we did start the project a week before that on the pool.
And when was the screen secured?
That was completed as of this past weekend. The security.
Same date?
Yes, sir.
right, and you're testifying under oath that you did that even though you no longer own any interest in the property?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to find, based on the evidence before me today, that Ms. Gankos no longer owns any interest in the property and did the repairs as a volunteer, which is to her credit. I am going to find that Mr. Gankos, who is apparently the sole owner of this property now, failed to comply with the order that I issued on June 22, 2017. The property should have been brought into compliance at midnight of July 9th. Mr. Gankos failed to do that, and it was only on July 17th, through the intercession of Miss Gankos, that the repairs were made at all. So that's 10 days, let's see, 7 days of violation at $200 a day. I'm going to fine Mr. Gankos $1,400 for 7 days of noncompliance. I'm going to find that at this moment the property is in compliance as to the swimming pool allegations due to the efforts of Mrs. Gankos. So I'm not going to set a date for future compliance, but I am going to provide that any future violations shall constitute repeat violations. Anything else to come before us on this one? Thank you, Ms. Gankos. All right, what's the next item that we want to take up?
We're going to go to code compliance cases, case A.
All right, next item on the agenda under code compliance cases is case CE 17-000143. Respondents are Marion N. Solomon and Bassam W. Camel. Properties 2210 Sterling Creek Parkway, Oviedo. Parcel number 20-20-5SD-0000-8410. This actually is coming on for hearing today because the special magistrate issued an order to show cause order in June. So who's going to be speaking to this item?
I will, Your Honor.
Anyone else? I'm available. All right, would you step forward, please? All right, and what is your name, ma'am?
Yvonne Froscher,
Y,
Y-V-O-N-N-E,
and the last name?
F-R-O-S-C-H-E-R.
F-R-O,
S as in Sam, C as in cat, H-E-R.
F-R-O-S,
C-H-E-R.
D.
C-H.
Step up to the microphone and I'll be able to hear you.
F-R-O-S-C-H-E-R.
Grocery. Right? And you, sir?
Bassem Kamel, the owner. You want me to spell my name, or you have it there?
No, I have your name, spelling of your name, Mr. All right, would all three of you please raise your right hand? You solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, Mr. O'Rourke, we'll begin with you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for moving the case up. Your Honor, I have a total of 29 pages that I would like to present to the court.
All right, bring those forward, please, sir. And you've given them copies?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your Honor, the first 11 pages...
I'm going to receive this into evidence as the city's exhibit. Go ahead.
The first 11 pages are part of my code enforcement testimony. The next portion of your packet is stapled together, and it is the report from the environmental consultant, Ms. Frozier. It is double-sided in pages 17 through 28, and then the final page in the document is page 29. So I will be going through each of these for you now, and I am going to defer any comments or discussion about the consultant's report to the consultant.
All right.
Just to recap a little historical background for the case, Your Honor, this was scheduled back on June 22nd, and Mr. Kamel was out of town, so he had requested an extension, and we had provided this letter that's the first page in your packet. You granted him the extension. And I would point out that the order, the next page, is the special magistrate's order from that June 22nd hearing. And just on page 2 of that order, your order was, Your Honor, ordered the respondent to appear here to show cause about the restoration plan and fines. After the notice of hearing, or the finding of fact, conclusion of law and hearings, the next page that you have is the certified mail receipt for the order that was sent to Mr. Kamel. We still do not have the green card or the returned letter back. And when I checked with the Postal Service, you can see the last action when I checked on the 25th was that it was departing from the Fort Myers Distribution Center. God bless the United States Post Office. On June 29th, Mr. Kamel had called requesting to speak with Dr. Correa, our Development Services Director. She was not available. He had requested the results of the special magistrate hearing on June 22nd, which we sent him a copy via email, and we asked about a updated consent to inspect form, which, Mr. Kamel denied at that point, but that's fine. So the next page that you have is the email where the order was sent to Mr. Kamel, and then the following page is the courtesy letter as a reminder that we sent on July 6th. July 16th, there was a site inspection by Dr. Correa, our Development Services Director, and Yvonne Frozier, the city's consultant. They met with Mr. Campbell on site. So that is the background, the history getting up to this point. I'll allow Ms. Frozier at this point to comment on her report and give you specifically her recommendations, which I think are the most important part.
Well, as a threshold matter, I'm going to find that all notices were provided, or even if they were not, and I see that Mr. Kamel is here. Mr. Kamel, you disagree with that? Well, I'll be heard. I'll let you be heard.
Yeah, it's more administrative. I never, for some reason, received these notices, so it's only through phone calls and communicating with code enforcement. The mail was lost, as Mr.
Did
Officer
you get
O'Rourke.
the email of June 29?
The email I got, but it was after I made the phone call. So somewhere in the communication, I'm not getting these notices. That's why I didn't appear that last time.
But
it's
obviously,
administrative. Well,
you
you're
know
not.
of the hearing because you're here.
I made the phone call to find out.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, any failures to provide notice are moot because the respondent is present today attending. All right. Who's going to speak next, Mr. Kamel or Ms. Froscher? All right, Ms. Froscher.
On July 6th, Teresa Correa and I accompanied Mr. Kamel on his property to look at the site where the violation had occurred, which is in a conservation easement that had been imposed through the permitting process of the St. Johns River Water Management District. At the back of my report, that conservation easement is attached, and there is...
Put the microphone a little closer, if you would. Okay, thank you.
And a drawing with an enlargement of Conservation Area D is included just after the text of the report, showing where 2210 Sterling Creek Parkway is in relationship to that conservation easement that was placed on the property. The city also has ordinances protecting these conservation easements, which places Mr. Kamel in violation with the city ordinances as well as in violation with Water Management District because he removed vegetation from the conservation easement, which was to be left in its natural condition. Apparently there was a dock installed without a permit on the property at some point. That was no longer there. When I visited the site, Mr. Kamel said he removed that. Mr. Kamel did provide a restoration plan that he authored. I had difficulty with that plan because Mr. Kamel is obviously not familiar with the flora that grows here in Florida. He included a picture of a natural community that showed a very open landscape, which might be present in part of that development, but certainly wasn't present at his lakefront. Based on the vegetation at the adjacent lots, the vegetation on his lot was likely very, very dense saw palmetto. On one side of his lot, that palmetto was 8 to 10 feet tall and had a response that's typical of a little more moist regime where the saw palmetto grows thick trunks and can actually go upright quite a bit like a small tree. And on the other side, there is also dense saw palmetto, although right at the edge of Mr. Kamel's lot on that side, on the west side, the topographic rise is a little more pronounced, so the saw palmetto there isn't quite as trunky. Mr. Kamel had, it was apparent that Mr. Kamel had not removed any trees. It did not appear that he had put any fill into this area, into the conservation easement. However, it was very apparent that vegetation had been removed. All of the palmetto fronds had been cut. All of the shrub material had been removed. It's hard to know how much shrub material there was on the adjacent lot. The majority of the growth was thick and dense saw palmetto with a few shrubs like shining lionia and wax myrtle and things. When I looked at the site on the 6th of July, because not all of the roots and trunks had been physically removed from the soils, some of the saw palmetto was beginning to resprout. There was also evidence that some of the shrub material, especially wax myrtle, which is a fast-growing common shrub in that vegetative association, was very apparent. There was shining lionia and some vines that were starting to grow back into this area. There are a couple approaches that could be taken to restore this area. One of them is to just let, since the roots were not removed for the saw palmetto and the canopy or the trees, and the saw palmetto roots are stabilizing soils so that they are not causing erosion to Horseshoe Lake. It makes sense to not further disturb the soils at this time by trying to plant anything else. Certainly, if the vegetative association does not recover on its own, we need to keep open the idea that some supplemental plantings may be required so that this association can recover to some natural state that provides the habitat that was intended to stay there by the requirements of the Water Management District. My goals and recommendations for this area are to leave the canopy species that are there and to allow all of the material that is recruiting and regrowing to remain without disturbance, without pruning, and to not disturb the soils any further, and to not apply any fertilizers or herbicides to the conservation area or within 10 feet of the conservation area. We do not want to do any chemical treatments that would impair the growth of the material, and we do not want to apply fertilizers that would add artificial nutrients to the natural community, vegetative community that should be there. I further recommend that in 1 year, during the month of August of 2018, that the city be allowed, the city or the representative be allowed to revisit this location to ensure that it is recovering as hoped, and to determine, because when areas get disturbed, there is more light exposure, there is more opportunity for exotic and nuisance plants to come into disturbed areas. So we would want to inspect this area to determine whether there has been an influx of non-native or nuisance species, to be certain that there is no soil erosion, and to determine whether this area is on track to renew in a natural way.
In your opinion, is the damage to the conservation area irreparable?
It is not irreparable, assuming that we can monitor. At this point, we do not know whether exotic species are going to come into the area based on the change conditions.
Okay. Obviously, it'll never be exactly the same, but over time, you think it will return to pretty much essentially the condition before everything was removed?
Yes.
Do you see any need for supplemental plantings at this time to effectuate that?
Right at this time, no, but I certainly would not rule that out depending on what the condition of the area is in a year.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Not right now.
All right. Mr. Kamel. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Rowe.
One more. Just as a point of order, Your Honor, the city does accept Ms. Frozier's report, her findings, and her recommendations.
Good. That simplifies it.
The last item in your package is the fee for Ms. Frozier's services, which the city would ask that Mr. Kamel be responsible for.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Kamel.
Two things. One, there was a previous, if you recall, in January, we had this, I was here, Your Honor, and there was a recommendation to pay a fine of $500, which I did. So just to keep track of the history of this case, so there was a fine. I did remove the dock. I paid the fine. Comes to me as a surprise that there's any fees associated with this. I did not. I certainly appreciate the help of Ms. Frozier, but I was unaware that there's any fees associated with that. So, and I should have given some advance notice that there would be fees, and we can work with the city on a common way to restore it. But since the recommendation from the restoration report that I had was to not introduce any exotic or external plants or fertilizers, so we're all in the same conclusion here. So I'm certainly open to to anybody coming in the future to monitor the situation. I did have some communication with the city of Oviedo. I don't want to get into that. That's historical, doesn't add much value, but just to note that I was in contact with Ms. Genevieve Ferret, who was no longer there. So I did share some of the vegetation growth and what I was doing at that time. That communication got lost. I have proof. I shared it with Mr. O'Rourke over time. So there was a delay of about 3 to 4 months before Mr. Risa came on board. So there was a delay there, but I did make some effort to get in touch with the city, and that communication was lost for about 4 to 5 months. That was not my mistake. I did try to work with the city throughout this process. So that's all I wanted to share. Maybe I appeared as unresponsive sometimes, but some of that communication went to people that are no longer with the city of Oviedo. And I'm open to anybody coming in at the property and taking a look at the regrowth, just like Ms. Frozier did.
All right. All right. My initial order did require you, Mr. Kamel, to employ an environmental consultant, if you will recall, to give us a report on whether the damage was irreparable. You did not do that. You instead gave us a plan of yourself, which was prepared by yourself, which was essentially to let it grow back. So the original burden of hiring and paying the consultant was on you, not on the city. I'm gathering the city retained Ms. Frozier. Was that what happened here? Of course, Ms. Frozier expects to be paid by someone. So I'm first going to rule that the recommendation of Ms. Frozier is going to be accepted by the special magistrate and has, by stipulation, been accepted by the city. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to rule that the city should at least once a year be permitted to inspect the property. I am going to find that the damage is not irreparable. whereat, of course, the fine would be a fairly steep fine. I am going to require the respondents, Mr. Kamel and Ms. Solomon, to repay the city the $650 incurred by the city in hiring a consultant because you failed to do so. I see you shaking your head, sir, but if you had hired a consultant yourself, it would not have been necessary. I made it quite clear in my prior order, Mr. Kamel.
Informed the city at the time. I'm ready to do that. That was back in March. Nothing was taken. No action was taken up until...
Stand up at the microphone, Mr. Kamel.
I did inform the city back in March that I'm willing and prepared to work with whoever we can determine as suitable. I don't want to hire somebody that the city doesn't deem as a suitable consultant. It's not my call. I don't want to take that risk and pay that kind of money and then wait back and see that, oh, that's not approved by the city. So that communication went to the development, which she's no longer there, and that communication got lost. But it was forwarded to the city. So I was willing and prepared to work with a consultant, a joint consultant that we can both work with. But I don't want to take the risk of working with somebody that the city doesn't approve.
You had your opportunity, sir, and you did.
And I took it. And I took it in March. I took it. Nobody responded.
You provided us, Mr. Kamel, with a report that you prepared.
I can share you the communication right now. I can give it to you. I think Mr. O'Rourke has it, but I can share it with you if you would like. I have that proof.
You're saying you offered to provide a consultant?
I offered to work with the city to get to a consultant, yes, to work with a common consultant. I don't want to recommend a consultant the city doesn't approve of.
Well, show me that, sir.
And back then, the city didn't want to take ownership as well. There was the St. John River. So there was communication on who was going to take ownership of this case.
So you say in this communication from you to Genoveva Fruet, thanks again for coordinating the meeting regarding the violation of the floating dock and easement restriction for the property at 2210 Sterling Creek Parkway. As part of the restoration plan for the subject property, see attached samples of the current vegetation growth. Please let me know if there is someone that you wanted me to work with and has the proper jurisdiction in St. John's River. Is that what you're referring to? And that's the email you're referring to?
That's one of the emails, yes.
And you're saying you did not receive a response to that?
No, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, may I?
Yeah.
Ms. Teresa's here as well. She has a copy. She's received a copy of that email that was distributed.
Okay. All right. Give this back to you, Miss. I read it into the record. Well, I do not, my finding and ruling is that that does not relieve you of the burden I imposed in my original order to hire a consultant. You had plenty of time to do that, and you did not do it. It was not incumbent upon the city to tell you who to hire. My order placed that burden on you, sir. And having failed to do that, and having necessitated a second hearing, because the plan you submitted was simply to let it grow back, and one you prepared by yourself, had you submitted a plan as ordered in my original order, there would have been no need for the city to retain someone. So
Sorry, Your Honor. I did submit a plan.
I saw the plan. It was the one you prepared.
Right.
Yes, I saw that. And that was not what I ordered. I ordered an independent plan.
Which I tried to do in March and April.
I don't
With the
see
city.
that one email as constituting an effort on your part, sir. So my...
There was multiple phone calls made.
Okay, well,
I tried my best.
Where did it end, sir? I'm ordering you to reimburse the city the $650 within 30 days. Of course, the city, having hired Ms. Froescher, is going to have to pay her, but you're going to have to reimburse the city. Should you fail to pay it within 30 days, then I'm going to fine you $650.
Can I make a statement, Your Honor?
Yes.
A joint agreement of who to hire would have been in order, because I'm the owner as well. We should have had a joint agreement on who to hire and what those costs
My
would
order did
be.
not require a joint agreement. It required you
And I
to
was,
select and hire a consultant to demonstrate to me that the damage was not irreparable.
someone that would be approved by the city, not some random consultant.
No.
That was the order, right?
Well, we'll look at the order.
Let's look at it. I was not going to take a risk of hiring a consultant that the city would refuse. The history of this case shows that I've done multiple steps that was not in accordance
My
with the
order-
city's approval. I thought it was good, the city didn't.
My order, sir,
Like
was
working with the dock.
respondents.
Sorry.
My real order was respondents shall no later than May 20 prepare and deliver to the city of Oviedo a plan to restore the above conservation and setback areas to their previous or better condition. Once that plan is approved by the city, respondents shall cause said plans to be implemented at their expense.
So no independent consultant? You wanted the plan by May 20th, right?
Sir, the hearing is over. I've entered my order. You will pay $650 to the city as reimbursement for Mrs. Froescher, or failing that, I will, upon a second hearing, impose a fine of $650.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, next item on the agenda, I think, the only item on the agenda is the car washer, correct? Correct. All right, and that's case A. Let's see, what am I doing? All right, we're back to the Massey cases. All right, the case before us now is case CE 17-000694. Respondent is Alafaya Super Car Wash LLC. Property is 1336 Alafaya Trail, Oviedo, Florida 32765. Parcel 22-21-310-0210-0000. This is a Massey case, evidence to be presented by the city. Mr. Stevens, are you going to be the only one speaking to this?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you raise your right hand. All the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, what do you have to present?
All right. First of all, Dave Stevens, representing City of Oviedo Code Enforcement. Property in question is 1336 Alafaya Trail, Oviedo, Florida. Case number is CE 17-000694. Violation is Land Development Code 14.6E, which basically deals with repairing or replacing damaged signs. I've got a packet of 24 pages to present to you, Your Honor.
All right?
May I approach the bench?
Yes. Be received in evidence as the city's exhibit. All right, sir.
First page, Your Honor, is the property appraiser sheet showing Alafaya Car Wash as the owner, 1336 Alafaya Trail. Second page would be the code itself. Next page shows, Your Honor's, finding of fact and conclusion of law from the hearing of May 25th, 2017, which shows that the respondent was in violation on April 3rd, 2017 of 14.6E. Based on your findings, it says respondent shall repair or replace the above described sign or else bring it into compliance with section 14.6E no later than midnight, June 19th, 2017. Should respondent fail to do so, then commencing June 20th, 2017, respondent may incur a fine of $50 for each day violation continue thereafter. First picture shown is June 20th, 2017, the sign in disrepair. Next is my affidavit of noncompliance and a notice to right of hearing sent June 22nd. A certified receipt, and the returned green card. The next packet that's paper clipped has 13 pages starting June 21st, 2017 through July 10th, 2017, showing the sign not in compliance.
Okay.
The next photograph is showing, this is July 11th, 2017, that shows that the sign has been fixed and is in compliance.
So,
The last document is my affidavit of compliance, which basically June 20th, 2017 through July 10th, 2017 equals 21 days of noncompliance.
has it been corrected now?
Yes, sir. And that is the picture previous July 11th, 2017.
So by July 11th, it was repaired.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has the respondent given you any reason why it took so long?
We have not heard from the respondent, Your Honor.
And notice was sent by certified mail to respondent of this hearing?
Yes, Your
Did you
Honor.
get a return on it?
Yes, that was previously noted.
All right, I'm going to find that all notices have been given as required by statute and ordinance. My recollection of the hearing is we actually gave them more time than they said they needed.
Yes,
to
Your
bring
Honor.
the sign into compliance.
My recollection basically is that you ask him point blank, will that be enough time? And he agreed.
Right. I'm going to impose a fine of $1,050 for 21 days of noncompliance. That's 21 days times $50. Anything else?
That's all I have for you, Your Honor.
All right, anything else to come before us today? All right, we are adjourned.